Hi everybody and welcome to another Witchy Book Club Live. I can hear my dog whining already. Phoebe, what's the matter? Come here, Phoebe. Excuse the baby talk for my dog. Okay, she's on the floor next to me. Hi everybody, how are you doing this morning? I'm starting my morning off with coffee and then I was like, ooh, I am jittery. I think I need some actual food, but I made myself a really super powered smoothie, so that's what I'm gonna be sipping on this morning. Waiting for people to kind of come on and roll on in. I kind of didn't give people as much notice of when we were going live, even though we go live the same time every week. I try and kind of put up something on all the social media platforms about a half hour to an hour early, and this time I was like, all right, we're going live in 10 minutes. So it might take a little longer for people to kind of shuffle on in here, and that is perfectly fine. But we're going to be going over chapters 7, 8, and 9 of the Happiness Project. And I felt a little disconnected this week just because I just have been doing a lot, as we all do a lot around this time of year. Whether you celebrate holidays or not, I just feel like collectively a lot of people get kind of stirred up into the hype and the motion of just the busyness of coming to the end of the year. But I have a lot of interesting points that I want to bring up with you guys this morning, so I'm excited for people to start shuffling in. Hi Autumn Breeze, hi Sam, good morning everybody. I can't wait to just kind of hang out with you guys too, because I have felt very disconnected from the online world and my spiritual practices from the last month or so. So any little bit of connection, I'm really gonna take this morning, because I've just been really all about my day job in the last month or so, which we kind of talked about last week, but even more so from this week, because first of all, we had our holiday party on Saturday, which was a ton of fun. My work goes all out. We're a small family-owned, not my family, but it's a family-owned business, and there's only 6 or 7 employees. But it's a very big, high-to-do glass art gallery. And so we do very high value work, we do a lot of high stress work for very small staff. So we're very tight knit and very close. And obviously there can be hard dynamics within there, but for the most part, we all come together. And when it's a holiday party, my bosses go all out. We have it at their home, and it is just extreme fun. They really make walking away feeling on the top of the world, let's just put it that way. They just go all out. So that was a lot of fun. But even this morning, about a half hour before we started, I was shooting emails, trying to book a truck to pick up a shipment out in Seattle to come to Michigan, just all the things. So I just feel like I've been really sucked into my day job lately. Hi Linda, how are you doing this morning? So I'm excited to talk about some other things other than my day job, even though I do love and appreciate my job. I am very blessed. Speaking about that, if you've ever been curious to kind of get a little bit more of a glimpse into that, because I don't like to talk about it too much, I like to keep that separate as much as possible. But I did this past week post a vlog. It's a weird vlog. I've never vlogged this way. But basically the trip that they sent George and I on down from Michigan to Florida for a week, we drove all the way down there and did a bunch of deliveries in Florida of artwork to clients, and then made our way back up, and we stopped to visit a few friends along the way. What I did was I kind of just got clips here and there of the whole trip, and I turned it into kind of a vlog. So if you're interested to see that trip, it's up on my channel. I think it's just called A Week of Travel. And then at the end, there's a little glimpse of what one of the rooms in the gallery looks like, and kind of my little desk corner that they have me shoved into. So if you've ever been curious about that and what I do for my day job, check out that vlog. So how's everybody doing? Did anybody do the homework? Because guess what? I didn't do one of the homework all the way. I'm failing for the day. I only did half of the traditions homework. Not because it was hard, because it was honestly easy. I just wrote a couple while sitting here, so maybe we can talk it out. I just let things get away from me and time get away from me. And I was going to spend a lot of time yesterday doing this, but George and I were like, hey, we're not doing anything. Let's go Christmas shopping for the kids. They're away. The kids are at Disney World. So, you know, I just kind of let it get away from myself, although I did do this one, and I had a ton of fun doing this one. So if you guys didn't miss it, if you're new here, or if you guys missed it from last week, or you're new here, or whatever the deal is, I've been creating homework for everybody since we started this every week. It's optional, obviously. You're not getting graded or like, you know, reprimanded or anything. It's for you to do extra stuff along the way if you want to like participate more. People share their homework in the Facebook group that we have, which is linked below. And I already posted a picture of this one. This was one of the worksheets I created for us last week. It just says a few of my favorite things. And it was really hard not to put brown paper packages tied up with string, but I did. I refrained. And it was just fun. I took 2 different colored markers, and I just took like a dark purple and a light purple, and I went every other, and I just sat there and kind of did some automatic writing. Hello, focus me. Haha. And I just did some automatic writing of literally anything that came to my mind that I loved. It could be like doing something like cooking or camping, or it could be literally something as cheesy as forehead kisses, which I put on there, or board games. I have red skin potatoes on here because my Taurus moon could not resist putting red skin potatoes on here. You know, stuff like that. And I don't know, I had a ton of fun just kind of going through and listing things that I loved. Hi Heather, how are you doing this morning? So, did anybody do this? Did they do it in their head? Do they want to do it now that they're seeing mine all pretty and purple and colorful? If you want to take a closer look at mine, I don't know if it's easy to read, but I did post a picture of that worksheet that's done in the Facebook group. I'd love to see what some of your guys' came up with. I feel like this homework might be a bit personal though, so if you don't want to share it, that's totally fine too, but if you want to kind of show yours off, that's what the Facebook group is for. And I'm glad that we did, it kind of worked well lining up, last week, because there was a lot of talk in the Facebook group, which we mentioned. I'm not going to kind of repeat myself too much here. Focus. It's such a hard time focusing on me. But before last week's live stream, there was a lot of talk in the Facebook group about not connecting with the author, feeling like this wasn't the right time mentally to kind of dive into a self-help book, stuff like that. And I was just trying to kind of bring everybody back down to the basics and be understanding of those who are trying to kind of get a grasp on their mental health if they feel like they cannot do it right now and they need to kind of focus on more serious matters. Then that's totally understandable. But for those who just feel like they can't connect to the book, they can't connect to the author and all that, so they were kind of giving up on the book because of either one section or just because they feel like they're very different from her, I thought that the homework just ended up lining up really well together to kind of bring it back down to the basics. Like, you don't have to relate to the author. That's not really the point, you know, of the book, is to think like, how similar am I to her? Or because I do not relate on a ton of the things that she says to her, but I can relate the things that she's going through and the things that she's, not that she's going through, the things that she's trying to access or investigate within her life, I can somehow in turn, you know, relate it somehow to me. So where she might be trying to look into parenting, maybe that's just me being more patient or understanding of children, because even though we talked about this last week, I'm coming from like a parental figure role, it's way different than her experience of having young children. And that might have connected to somebody else out there a ton who has younger children around her age that they could relate to. Anyways, I just thought it was nice to kind of just do something so simple and easy and bring it down to the basics. It's almost like a gratitude list, but not having to be like, I am grateful. It's like, what do I love, right? And in turn, looking back and taking a look at all the things on this list, if I wanted to, I could just like maybe focus on one thing a week. So I could take this and while you focus, I could just take one thing a week for the year and be like, listen, I love making lists. So every day this week, I'm going to make a really silly list, you know, and just kind of dive into the things that I love once a week. Do you think that that could make me happier? Do you think that focusing on the things I love intentionally would make me happier? Or something that might help me switch up my routine and kind of get more on a grasp of myself. Like, who am I? What do I love? Why don't I journey into those things? So anyways, that's the homework from last week. The traditions homework I thought was okay. You know, it was just an extra thing because she brings up a lot in last week's section about traditions. And I feel like it was difficult around this time to not just do all like holiday related traditions. And I have some current traditions that I wrote down here. And one of them is my year ahead spread ritual that I do for myself and yearly planning. And typically I think a lot of people do their year aheads at the end of the year, so that they start the new year fresh, which I actually have a year ahead spread reading available, which is like a big reading, but that's available on my website if you don't throw cards for yourself, or you want maybe an other perspective and guidance through what I can do. That's on my website, but I've always done it on my birthday month or the month before my birthday. But I've had a really, really hard time connecting to the cards that I threw, and I've been really forcing it for the past couple months. So I'm actually thinking about redoing my year ahead spread and starting one this month to do for January and on. I'm thinking about it. I'm dabbling with it because I've also gotten the Color Mage Oracle recently, and I think that it would be really, really fun to kind of just do a color for the month and my basic Rider-Waite-Smith. Like, I just want to make it real simple and clear for myself. And yeah, anyways, that's one of my current traditions. Another one is that it was interesting to put this down, and feel free to chime in at any time. I'm just going because no one's commenting. So another one of my current traditions is every single year since I've been dating George, we have gone with the kids to chop down our own Christmas tree. And it's kind of been like a yearly tradition for us to do. We love doing it. It's a great way for us to spend time together. And as the kids get older and more teenager-y, it's a little bit harder for us to kind of engage together all as one family. So that's something that we do that we all really enjoy and laugh a lot with. And the one year we were living with friends and they have super high ceilings, so we got like a huge Christmas tree and we couldn't fit it through the door, and like it was a big deal. Like our friend Jason and George were like trying to rip it through the doorway, and I remember like Michaela and Jason's wife Jessica and AJ and I standing like above on the stairs just kind of like watching them. Like, it was actually like a Christmas. It was, I don't know, I'll never forget that moment of it like ripping through the door. When we had it on top of my car, it literally like engulfed the whole car. We could barely see. It was ridiculous. We got way too big of a tree. But every year that's kind of a funny memory that came up. And as I'm like thinking about this, and it's a tradition we talk about, it's not like, oh, that I guess that's a tradition. Like, we know that that's a tradition that we do in our family. But I put it down, and as I was putting it down, I was like, oh my gosh, we're not going to be able to do that with the kids before Christmas this year. Like, we can still do it, but the kids are in Disney World right now with their mom, and they're not going to get back till the 22nd of December, and there's no time to do it. So we can still do it this year, but it'll probably just have to be after Christmas. But then, I don't know, I was like, oh my gosh, this is the first year in like 5 years that we haven't been able to do that. And it was just kind of like, that's a tradition that I would like to keep doing, that's important to me, and I think important to George, and the kids will just have to deal with it if it's not important to them. But yeah, so what are some traditions that you guys do, whether holiday time or just throughout the year, either from the past or current, or what are some traditions that you would like to start? Just as a heads up, I saw that George was pulling in, so he's going to be walking in anytime now, and I'll be saying hi to my hunky boyfriend. I think I talked about this last week as well, but one of the traditions that I'd like to start is like a monthly game night, and I put it in quotation marks because we have game nights with our friends, they do like big time game night where like lots of people come over. It's real intense, lots of food, lots of drinks, lots of games, very, very like intense games. But I'd like to have like one night a week where, or one night a month where we just pick a board game and we play board games because the kids really love board games. It's having such a hard time focusing on me. George is here. Hi, George. Hi, baby. And the kids really, really love board games. So I think it would be really fun if we were just to take like a game and sit down. We used to play board games a ton a few years ago, and we just don't that much anymore, but I think it would be nice for us to kind of spend some time together. Michaela's not as big on board games as AJ is, but when we all play, it's really fun. So what did somebody say? Linda says, my family is from Denmark, so to keep something from our culture, we have a smorgasbord dinner in Christmas Eve. That's nice. That is fun. And so where are you? Are you still in Denmark, or did you move somewhere else, or is that just extra fun? Well, George, I was talking to them about traditions and how this was the first year that we're not going to go cut down a tree with the kids. We could still get one after Christmas.
No.
But I like that tradition. Oh, you live in Chicago now. Oh my goodness, that's quite a move. Wow. How many years has it been since you have moved from Denmark to Chicago? That is quite a big move. But, oh, the other thing is I think I want to add, my list of things that I love to my bullet journal. My husband and I go hiking every New Year's Day. Oh my gosh, Autumn, that is such a good tradition. I love that. George and I, we used to go disc golfing on Thanksgiving because the kids used to be with their moms and with their mom, and we would just kind of go do our own thing on Thanksgiving. But now we celebrate it all together, which is super, super nice. Let's see. Sam says we don't get to do our usual tradition this year either. Emily's mom is going through a rough time losing a friend to cancer, so we're hosting her family this year. I'm nervous. Christmas dinner for 7 people is beyond my skill level. You can do it, Sam. I come from like, I just got giddy on the inside because I absolutely love hosting. Like, I did not realize how much I loved hosting, but it's just, you can do it. I know that it's like scary if you've never done it before and you're trying to cook and stuff, but don't underestimate the power of pre-planning, like prepping. You know, like the night before you can prep everything, because a lot of the times when you're cooking and all that, the prep is most of the work, you know, or you might not think about how long prepping takes. So by the time you're done prepping everything and then it's time to cook, you're way behind schedule. So that's my biggest tip, is to prep as much stuff before as you can, like, and just have it in tons and tons of Tupperware in the fridge. Like George and I just hosted my brothers and sisters for Christmas, and we made like fajitas, and we made, I made like a bunch of guacamole and roasted vegetables and stuff, but like I cut all the peppers, all the onions, like I cut everything and put them in big Tupperwares. I made the salad the night before, like just prep everything. And that is like my biggest tip for hosting and getting like on the track of having a bunch of people over. Also, don't be afraid to be like, hey, bring a dessert. You know, because people will text you and be like, what should I bring? And you're like, I don't know. Like, be ready to know what you don't have time for and tell them, and they'll want to bring something. That is I love hosting though. I'm getting nerdy already. I'm like, okay, I can plan this for you. I'll fly to Georgia and plan it for you. Linda, I was actually the only one of my family born here. It's been many of years since they came. Oh. Victor says, I see a spider on the wall behind you. That's cool. I love spiders, if you're telling the truth. I kind of just leave spiders if they're in my house, but I don't see them, so I'm not going to be like looking and then you go like, made you look. We made homemade Christmas ornaments and put the year on them. I've been hearing about your ornaments, Heather. We want to see these infamous ornaments. Heather is so creative and so genius, and she just like pumps out the most crafty, amazing things. She has an Etsy shop. I'm actually about to link her Etsy shop on my website, but I think that she told me that she's like out of stock of everything because she just did like a craft show or something, and she made all these ornaments, and they were they just like sold out. So I'm super proud of her. But okay, the other tradition that I have down here is along with my brothers and sisters when they came over, is the Secret Santa. So I have a real brother, and I have a stepbrother and 2 stepsisters, and then on my dad's side I have a half sister. But in like my mom's side, there's 5 of us, and I'm the oldest. And when they all came into my life, like when my mom and my stepdad got together, my stepbrother was the youngest, and he was like many years younger than me, and we kind of were all sprinkled in between there. But when Christmas came around, it was like we loved each other and we wanted to give everyone gifts, but we were all too young to like really have money or to know what to do. And so if we did have money, it was like only a couple dollars. So we started the tradition of Secret Santa between the brothers and sisters, more so for the younger ones so that they felt like they could give gifts. And we would pick a Secret Santa, and then we would all go to the dollar store, and we would have to pick something out from the dollar store for the other person, and then we'd all give a gift, you know? I'm like, what's the best gift we could find for this person at the dollar store? And it's kind of like escalated from there, and it's a tradition that my brothers and sisters and I, even though we live all over the U.S. now, like my one brother's up in the UP of Michigan, my other brother's right now in Colorado, he might be moving to Hawaii, or he was in Santa Fe, and then he was in California, like we're all spread all over, and but we still do this every year, and we'll just ship it if we need to. But it's really, really fun, and what's even more fun is me ruining it every year. Like, we try to keep it a secret, but I automatically ruin it every year, and it's really fun for me to do that, and that's tradition, for Sam to ruin the Secret Santa. But yeah, so that was, I didn't finish my traditions homework, so I get like, I'm gonna give myself like a C- for the traditions homework, but an A++ on presentation of the few of my favorite things homework, because this looks pretty and it was really fun to do, and I really tried on my cursive, so yeah. Anyways, my oldest son and I have mom and son date nights every Wednesday evening, and when Grayson is a little older, I'll do that with him too. What kind of stuff do you guys do on your date night? That sounds so fun, Heather. Do you just like, do you actually go somewhere, or do you just kind of like make a point to spend time with him? I guess a tradition of mine is bugging Emily to tell me what I got, because I hate surprises and eventually she gives in. Relatable. Okay, I don't really want to know ever what I'm being given, but I cannot keep a secret when it comes to like what I'm giving people. So as soon as I know what I've got, like George for instance, and he can hear me, so he's probably like nodding his head in the other room. But it's not like I'm like, I don't automatically go like, do you want to know what I got you? It's more so like, I got your present, and then I remind him that I already have his present like 3 times in one day, and he's just like, okay, and then eventually it turns into, well, do you just want to know what I got you? Do you just want to know? Like, I could just tell you, and he'll be like, no, don't tell me. I'm like, okay, but I could. If you want to know, I'll tell you. I just can't keep it in. Like, I'm just excited, and I want them to know what it is. I'm not so much on the other way. Like, I don't really need to know what I got. I just want to tell people what I got them early, because I can't keep it inside. I just get so excited. Yeah, same. I just don't like surprises or not knowing for sure if someone is going to like what I got them. Yeah. Yeah, I just think, yeah. Okay. I get that. I think mine just comes from like too much in here just makes me want to like explode. Like, I'm just, oh, there's too much information and secrets up here. Just let me tell you one. Like, nope. Phoebe, you look so cute over there. You look so cute. All right, so shall we talk about the book? Sam, I could never be in the CIA. Oh my God, I would be the worst in the CIA. Which is so funny because I think George would be amazing, but I would not be a good like CIA girlfriend. They just needed to know anything that he wasn't saying. They just have to find me. Okay, Or maybe he is in the CIA. Dum dum dum. Okay. So, I don't have as much notes, I don't think, about each chapter this week, but I do have, like, the notes and the points that we have to go over are some interesting ones. So we went over chapters 6, 7, and 8, and again, they're in months, so it would be July, August, and September. And oh wait, 7, 8, 9. Did I put 6, 7, 8? It's 7, 8, 9. Oh, I'll have to change the title. Oops. Okay. It's 7, 8, 9. July, August, and September. So starting with July, her focus was on money and buying some happiness. Now, for me, this was the most interesting chapter, but also the most, like, triggering chapter, I think. It was hard to read her accounts on money because I feel like we're very different in this regard. And it was a lot of, like, privilege coming through for her, and, like, but she does bring it back down a ton towards the end of the chapter. But it was hard for me to focus on certain aspects of what she was. It was harder for me to detach, like I said, I've been doing this whole book, from this chapter than it was for the rest of the chapters. So whereas some people were really triggered by the marriage chapter, this one was like the marriage chapter was like, okay, great, she's married and she's trying to work on herself and whatever. But I just saw Imogen Walters uploaded a new video and I really want to go watch it. So the topics that she goes over in this chapter is indulging in a modest splurge, buying needful things, which are very contradicting things, I feel like. A modest splurge and then buying needful things, like, those are, well, it's not really contradictory, but they're two ways to spend money, but in very different ways. Spend out and give something out. So in her regards, she doesn't spend enough, right? And she goes over this idea of being an underbuyer or an overbuyer, or a maximizer or a satisfizer. And this part was, like, really intriguing to me. But before she gets there, she's just talking a lot about being able to spend her money and being able to, like, spend her money on things, whether it's a modest splurge. And it might be really difficult for people because even though that's her point of view, is where she feels like she doesn't spend her money enough on the things, you know, somebody might be coming from this, like, I am an overbuyer and I'm just watching her talk about spending money when really I need to rein it in. I need to reel it in. Like, I'm spending my money on too much stupid shit, you know? Or it's a problem for me because I'm constantly buying things and that's, like, how I get validation or excitement. And so this was just, like, I'm very excited to see where you guys come from on this and how you felt about this chapter if you read it. Even though I consider myself an underbuyer, but I'm a satisfizer. So, like, okay, let me break this back. So, first of all, what are the top 5 things that you think you spend your money on? And if we're getting right into it, okay? Because this is a lot. We go to the dinner, movies, walks by the lake, bookstores, just do stuff with him where we communicate one-on-one without distractions at home. Grayson is 2, so he's a wild child. Yeah, that's hard for one kid to get attention when because they're quite a few years apart, so I can see how that time alone would be really nice. So somebody put food. Yeah, I would say that would be one of my top 5, is definitely food. Food, bills, oils, my dog, and gas. So I used to spend a lot of money on gas because we lived a lot further away from my job. Gas is not too much. Oh, someone put I spend way too much on lattes. Ooh, interesting. And Heather says, so it's important to make sure he's being heard just as much as Grayson is, but it's nice going out and hearing his thoughts. It connects us better as mom and son. That's so sweet, Heather. That's really sweet. Food, bills, oils, my dogs, and gas. Yeah. I say I don't spend enough time or money on my dog, and that makes me really sad when I say that out loud, but I really feel like, well, part of it was the leash thing, or the harness thing that I already told you guys about how, like, Michaela and George bought her, like, a new harness, and I was like, no, her old one's fine, it smells like her, and I never want to give that one up because it's, like, her thing. So that's what I'm talking about with tarot cards, kids, and bills. So I actually do not spend a ton of money on tarot, but I'm constantly getting new stuff in. So it seems like I am, but because I'm so blessed to have, like, the channel and the position that I'm in, I'm constantly getting things in from, you know, creators or things like that, or lovely people giving me love mail and stuff like that. So it feels a lot of the time like I'm getting a ton in, but I'm not really spending out on it all that much. I would say, like, because really don't spend, the last tarot deck I bought for myself was the Color Mage Oracle, and then before that, I literally don't know what the last one was. But I do spend a lot on food, but it's really important to me, and I really love that I spend a lot on food. But, okay, so here's part of the reason why I think that I am gonna fall under the underbuyer category, because I take way too long to buy things that are even just necessary, or that are, like, okay, for instance, and this might be a little TMI, but, like, we just went and bought new underwear for me, right? So we just went yesterday, and I was, like, thrilled to buy myself underwear, because I was like, this is something that I just wait to the last minute to do. I'm really cheap about it. Like, I feel like, you know, as a girl, you're gonna have to buy more in, like, 6 months anyways, or whatever, like, to a year, so why spend a bunch of money on underwear? Because underwear is expensive. But also, then every single day to put on a pair of underwear that's, like, falling apart, or is, like, not very nice because I was really cheap and I went somewhere cheap to get underwear because I don't want to spend a bunch on underwear. Like, that's something every single day that I'm seeing, or that I'm, like, feeling when I'm going to get a pair of underwear to wear for the day, and I wait so long that when I get underwear, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm finally buying underwear, but I feel still really guilty doing it. And that kind of carries over with everything that I do when it comes to buying. Like, I have to convince myself, or I have to, like, debate with myself on why I deserve something, or why I can buy something, or why I should buy something. Like, except for food. Like, food is the only thing that I'm just like, no, I want food, I need food, I'm gonna buy good food. Like, I want to supply myself with good food. It's the only thing I don't feel bad about buying. Everything else, like, I will wait to the last minute. Like, I don't like shopping for clothes because I feel bad about it, and I feel like I can just wear what I have in my closet, even though I know how much happiness one new sweater will bring me. And I feel like taking a look at like the dynamic between, like, George and I, again, he's in the other room, so he can chime in if he wants, but I see George as an overbuyer, which is actually a good thing, because he doesn't have that. He doesn't wait to the last minute. Like, if he needs underwear, he just goes out and gets it. Like, he knows, like, I need underwear, he's gonna get it. And then even then, if he already has underwear, but he sees a good deal on underwear, he's going to get it anyways, because he knows it's a good deal and he deserves good underwear. Like, for me, it's like, oh, it's a good deal, but, like, I have some, it's fine. And so we compliment each other on that way. Like, I'll say to him, like, oh, we might not need that, or he'll say, like, well, let's just get it, it's on sale, why not just get it, kind of thing. Let me just read what you guys are saying. So Autumn says, food and gas, we live in our van, and bills. Oh my goodness, that is interesting, Autumn. I would love to hear more about that sometime. Oh, you said same. I wait until my clothes fall apart. I buy one toothpaste tube at a time. I always feel guilty when I buy stuff for myself. Yes, okay, so when it comes to, like, the dynamic between George and I, like, he bought a 2-pack of Jif peanut butter the other day, right? Because he's like, oh, in the end, we'll save like 10 cents or 20 cents or whatever it is. In his mind, he's like, I'm saving because I will eventually buy another one. And at this point, I'm going to be saving. But in my mind, thinking of buying the double pack, when it's like, do you know how long that would take to eat 2 peanut butters? Like, I don't need 2 of them at this point. Like, why would I buy 2 of them? Even though it's going to save me a few pennies, like, I don't need that many in the cabinet. Like, that's just the difference between the way that our brains are when it comes to spending money. But he's actually spending less money, but in my mind, it's like, I don't need that. I don't know. It's weird. It's interesting to see him and how he goes about things and how I go about things. And I think it's important to recognize as couples, like, how you difference, because if I didn't recognize that that's his approach to it, is like, oh, I'm saving money by getting more now, it could cause rifts or upset between people if you don't try and look at how the other person approaches and you just assume that they should think the same way as you about buying things. Like, he will come home all the time and just be like, look what I got. And I'll be like, wow, that's cool. And it ends up being really, really helpful or really awesome that I would never have spent money on because I thought, well, we don't need that. And it's something that I end up enjoying more than anybody else in the house does. Kim says, fast food, spiritual supplies, bills, and kid stuff. Already spent a small fortune on extra kid mitts, hats, and snow pants. Yeah, but that's awesome. Those are things that, you know, kid stuff, they grow so fast, and it's easy to lose things like mittens and hats, so I get it for sure. I already spent a small fortune, and that stuff is expensive. Lola says, I tend to buy little gifts often for people I love because that's how I show my affection. That is sweet, and that's a wonderful way to spend your money. If it makes you happy, makes other people happy, that's sweet. So then, talking about like overbuying and underbuying, right? So George, this is so weird that you're like right in the other room, so feel free to chime in at any time, George, if you want to. But like, George loves gadgets. Like, he loves all the new technology. He loves anything that comes out that's like new, especially when it comes to like speakers or sound systems. And I've pointed this out to him now, and it's just something that like he loves learning about. He knows all of the information on, and I don't know the things. But like, if there's something that can improve his lifestyle, like he just bought the smart light bulbs that hook up to our Google Home. So I can tell the Google Home, like, hey, turn off the light or something. I would have never like wanted to get that or thought to get that because it's not something that like in my mind we need. But now that we have it, like, again, I probably am going to be the one that uses it the most. So it's nice to see the two things kind of come together. But yeah, that was my notes for this, was like, George likes to buy all the new gadgets where I spend 3 years debating with myself on whether or not I'm worthy to get new underwear. Like, that's just, but you can see how the pros and cons of each side could take over. So are you, as some people already were commenting in there, are you an underbuyer or are you an overbuyer? Again, there's positives and negatives to any side of either of those, but it's just interesting to see. And if you have a significant other, or if you have like kids or parents, like what are they? Where did they come from? Because my both of my parents are underbuyers. So I think it's interesting that I consider myself an underbuyer where I would think both of my parents are underbuyers. I think that looking at George's parents, they're both underbuyers as well, but he is an overbuyer. Maybe he doesn't consider himself an overbuyer, though. He might not. He might think he's an underbuyer, which is also interesting. But there is this concept of like maximizer and satisfizer, right? So you could be an underbuyer, but want to maximize what you're getting, right? So you might want like more of something because like it's a better deal, right? Or it's I don't know another example. I think you can get what like a maximizer might be. So it's like if you're gonna spend your money, it's gonna be like getting the most you can out of it, like for the most quantity, like spending your money as much as you can to get the maximum amount of things or pleasure from it. But then the satisfier is like, okay, I just want this one thing. I want it to be really good, so I'm going to spend a little bit more extra money on this one thing instead of spending a little less and getting multiple things, because I really just want this one thing and I'd rather have it be really, really satisfying in this moment. So I consider myself a satisfier. So I don't really need to spend like, or try and maximize my spending. I'd rather just spend a little bit more and get exactly what I want than try and shop around for the best deal. And in return, George is a maximizer in my mind. So he is someone that will go to 5 or 6 stores to find the best deal. Like he will know what he wants, but he will like try and maximize his money and get the best option. And he's not, if he buys something and then realizes there's a better deal, he can take it back and go get it at the other store. Like I would never do that because it is so much work and effort. Like I just want the one thing. Like if I find what I want, I don't care if it's $10 cheaper at another store or if it's whatever. Like if that's what I want and I find it, like I'm gonna maximize that and just get it, like, or satisfy myself and just get it in that moment. Like yeah, I don't know, but it's just interesting to see how we all break things down differently as far as money goes. I'm definitely an overbuyer. I take after my dad, but bulk and spend extra for quality. Right, and so like there's positives and challenges to everything. Overbuyer, I need to stop buying things I don't really need. It excites me. I need retail therapy. Well, okay, like if you think that it's a problem in your life, then that is something to look into. But at the same time, if spending out brings you pleasure and makes you happy, as long as you're doing it and making sure that, you know, you're spending it on the things that you really enjoy or get use out of, sorry, I'm trying to get it to focus on me, then it might not be a problem. But when it starts to like cut into your funding to like pay your bills or to do other things, then obviously that might be something you want to reevaluate or kind of maybe limit yourself on. Because I don't think that overbuying is always a problem. But I definitely would say that I do go through a little bit of spurts. So it's like if I come into a little bit of money, let's say I get a bonus from work or something, I will be like, oh my gosh, I have some money now. What am I going to get? And like, this is kind of just what happened to me. And I'm like, I'm going to get new underwear. Oh my God. When it's like, I should have freaking been getting myself underwear like 3 months ago and just kind of taking a little bit out every paycheck. Excuse me, instead of waiting for me to get like some extra money and be like, what am I going to do? It's like, oh my God, underwear. Like, it's such a thrill for me. But then again, if you think about it, excuse me, I swallowed wrong. If you think about it, buying myself new underwear was like such a thrill. Whereas for like George or somebody else who overbuys, it's like, okay, I just need underwear, I'm just gonna buy it, you know, where it's like you might not appreciate it as much. But I will wear like, you know, sweaters or shirts from like high school that if they still fit me, I'm not going to throw them away because they're perfectly good and I don't want to spend my money on new things, kind of thing. So yeah, I tend to, oh, I already read that one. Okay. Anyways, I just thought it was really, really interesting. And especially because we read this chapter and then George and I just went like Christmas shopping and stuff. And we've gotten so good at like knowing how to spend on the kids, knowing how much and what we work together well at, what he's good at, what I'm good at, and how to like compromise things together without having to like explain it as much. Like we've just kind of gotten a good flow, which is important. But at the same time, like I think it's interesting to kind of recognize in yourself, like just taking a look at how you value money or how you spend. It was interesting to see Gretchen Rubin's mindset around buying things and buying needful things and modest splurges, and thinking it to myself about the readers in the book club going like, well, maybe they consider themselves overbuyers and they're listening to Gretchen say like, oh, I splurged and went out and my mom helped me shop and I bought 8 shirts at once, where someone might be like, well, yeah, I'm not going to go shopping and not get a couple shirts. For me, it's like, if I go out and get 8 shirts, whoo, it's a shopping spree. Like, it is a shopping spree. My best friend Allison, she's definitely an overbuyer, but that's her hobby, that's her passion. She loves clothes, she loves shopping, and she makes enough money to where she can do what she wants with it. But when I go shopping with her, it is like a whole new world. Like, she is just like, well, just get it. It's fine. Like, just buy it. And I'm like, but do I deserve it? Do I have enough money? I don't know. Am I really going to use it? And I like go through all this turmoil in my head about why I need a new purse, because mine's like falling apart and I don't want to spend $25 on a purse. Like, it's just insane where she has totally different mindset about money than I do, you know. But it's funny because Allison is a overbuyer, but she's not a maximizer. I would think that she's a satisfier. She will just get what she wants, and she doesn't really need to kind of try and maximize her money and time. It's like, if this is what she wants and she found it, she might not shop around really. She's just gonna get it. She wants to make sure that she's really getting all that she wants out of it by getting what she wants, if that makes sense. I didn't explain that very well, but I think you know where I'm going. Lush says, it's the way I was conditioned, maybe. I was the only child, so I was a little bit spoiled. Facts. And that's interesting too. Like I said, taking a look at kind of like where you came from and what you think your parents are, or if you don't want to, if you don't want to like categorize them as an overbuyer, underbuyer, just thinking about their relationship with money and how they taught you and what you learned and picked up along the way from them. Like I said, I think both of my parents are not even underbuyers, like extreme underbuyers. And like extreme underbuyers. So I was raised with that mindset about, you know, like really being so frugal, or like if you're going to spend your money on something, it better be something that you really, really want, and that if you're going to spend your money on it, like it's going to be good quality kind of thing. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Oh, okay. For a good example would be like in our stockings every year, we would get like 1 pair of like really, really nice like wool socks, or cabin socks, my mom calls it. So it might not be wool, but it's like really thick, comfy winter socks, because it gets really cold and dry here in winter, and like it's just nice. So instead of like gifting us like, oh, my kids really need socks, like I'm gonna get them a pack of socks, my mom would go like, okay, they need socks, but let's get them 1 really, really good quality pair of socks. Where it's like, it's freaking socks, okay? Like, you're buying socks and it's a gift, but at the same time, we all really appreciated that 1 really good quality pair of socks in our stockings, rather than like, actually, all the rest of our socks have holes in them, so maybe we could get like a pack of regular socks. It was like, ooh, we have a new pair of like really nice cabin socks for Christmas. No? Anybody? Like, thinking about the ways in which you were given things from your parents, or the way that you give things now and your ideas around it, is just kind of interesting, and I think says a lot. So the last in the chapter for July was talking about what you all think. I put, what do you all think about the section when everyone in her house wasn't getting along and she was trying extra hard, and then her husband Jamie fell asleep and she was score counting with him on like, I did this, so you should be doing this, and blah, 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 and realizing that most of the things that she was doing to make herself happier was actually to try to make others happier, and she was really fed up. And she kind of just like lost her cool in July and was like, this is bullshit. Like, I am trying so hard to be more mindful of my marriage and of parenting and of less nagging and, you know, doing what I love and going to bed earlier and all these things, and it's not making me happier because nobody else is doing something back. And she just kind of freaked out on it and was like, is this even worth it? I don't feel happier at all. If you guys are reading the book, like actually reading the book, and you remember that section, I want to know your thoughts on that, because I thought after talking a whole chapter on money, and there was a lot of like privilege seeping through the pages of this chapter. But at the same time, she gave a lot of good food for thoughts with the underbuyer and maximizer and all that stuff. It was very grounding and humbling, I think, of her to kind of put in there the fact that halfway through the year is now when she's like, is this even fucking worth it? Like, is this worth it working? Like, what is going on here? I don't feel happier. I feel like I'm working harder and I'm more like aware every day of whether I'm happy or not. I thought that it was almost necessary for that to happen, because at this point it's like, all right, is this all just going very so well for you? Like, come on, there has to be like struggle, like there has to be something that's real in here. And I thought that the end of this chapter was almost necessary. So, thoughts. Let me just make sure I didn't go back. Yeah, I just want to make sure if I missed any comments here. So while I'm seeing if anybody is commenting or they're able to give me their ideas on this, I want to take a mid-book break to talk about my plans for January and my plans for book club and our next book and all that doodad. So if no one has any thoughts on that section, that's okay. Let me go back down to my notes so I can tell you what I want to do. So no one has any opinions or thoughts or anything on that section, and if they do, then I'll go back to it. But I'm thinking that I might want to take a month off from book club, and I want to hear your guys' thoughts on this. So our last live stream for this book is actually going to be on New Year's Eve morning, which is going to be 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, like we always do. We're going to be skipping next week, and because for the holidays and for everything, like there's no homework this week. There is no homework. No homework. I didn't want to give myself homework, so I didn't want to give you guys homework. And I didn't want to create homework because I've had so much going on, and I feel like if that's what I'm going through, then that's what everyone else is at least getting swept up in the environment of, if they're not actually going through it. So there's no homework this week, and there is no live stream next week because it is Christmas Eve morning, I think, and I just don't want to have to deal with the live stream. But our last live stream for this book, which is going to be covering chapters 10, 11, 12, is going to be a New Year's Eve day. And then I'm thinking about taking January off. Shocker, I know. Part of the reason is I'm feeling like I'm already coming pretty close to burning out, but also because I'm going to be partaking in Ethany's 31 Days of Tarot. So I'm going to be starting, because she just put out the prompts, to try and pre-film as many of those videos as possible in the next week or two, because she didn't really give us a lot of time to prep like she did last year, and I'm sure she's going through a lot as well. But I really had a fun time doing that, and I think it's a really great way for you guys to get a lot of facts and information and videos like that you want to hear from me and other people in January. So I'm going to be putting out a video every single day in January, if not more, because I'm still going to have like my Witch's Moon unboxings and my, you know, any deck unboxings or any other live streams or thoughts of videos that I want to put out. So there's going to be a ton of content coming from me, and I feel like to add on top another book in January, it is literally just, I feel like it's going to be too much for me. If you guys really want to have still like book club and have like a book to read, what I was thinking was that we could sort of pick a book and you guys can start reading it through January, and we don't start the live streams until February. But I honestly have been looking into books and I don't know anything that I want to read or even put up for proposal for us to read. So that's why I'm thinking like maybe even just taking January off. But if you guys are like super looking forward to what the new book is and that you don't want to go a month without book club or kind of like this stuff, we can kind of like compromise on that. You know, the only book that I thought that might be good for us to start and read read like a bunch through January on our own and then start the live streams in February is like the Mists of Avalon or something. Because if we were to do that book, it's like super, super big and thick. But I know a lot of people have already read Mists of Avalon, and it's like a fictional book surrounded by like Lancelot and Queen Arthur and like Guinevere and stuff. I'm new to the channel. I came from Simon, I think. 31 Days of Tarot sounds awesome. Yes, Lush, it is awesome. So it's 31 prompts put out by Ethany, who has her own channel here, and there's a question based around tarot that you make a video every single day in January. You can go back to January videos on my channel and get like a look and links and stuff. But I'm going to be participating in that. So there's going to be 31 videos plus coming out in January, and I just don't feel like book club is going to be like, it's going to be on the bottom of the list. So it's like, we can still do stuff. But I don't know, you guys. You do you. I'm thinking of starting a channel with Ethany 31 Days of Tarot. It's a great way for people who have wanted to do a channel, who have wanted to start talking about things, who may have been nervous or may have not known exactly what to talk about, because it's all prompted out there for you. And it's cool to see what your answers are and what other people's answers are to the certain questions. So I'm definitely participating in that again. I will be talking about this in a mini little post or live stream or something in the Facebook group. Or if you're watching the playback of this and you didn't get to catch it live, please let me know your thoughts in the comments below if you think that we could just take January off, or if you think we can come up with a book that we can start reading in January and just like not do the live streams until February. And in that case, we could do a bigger book and just like, you know, schedule half of it to be read by February, if that makes sense. So that's my mid live stream thoughts on that. I'd love to hear. I actually have to pee, you know, routine, because I drink a lot when I do this. So you guys are gonna have dead air for 2 seconds. Okay, talk amongst yourselves, or don't. That's fine. I'll be right back. Oh, dang. Okay, never mind. George is in the bathroom. I'm back. Never mind. I'll go in a second. Okay. So, did you guys say anything? Okay. August, chapter 8, she talks about contemplating the heavens and eternity. Now, this one I think was a bit like wah wah for me, because we're coming from such like a spiritual minded community that this was kind of like child's play, I think, for us, for a lot of people. But I think for people who are like, for a lot of people who are coming to like a self-help book for the first time, this might be really eye-opening for them to think like, oh my gosh, maybe I do need some spiritual enlightenment, or maybe I do need to think about what do I think about life and death and all of that, and who are my spiritual masters, or who are the people I look up to and things like that. For me, I don't have a lot of notes because it was very like watered down and beginner type stuff, and I don't know, it sounds very condescending, but it was interesting to see her opinions, but it didn't get a whole lot out of it, I guess. Kim says, I'm okay with taking January off, gives a chance to recoup from the holidays and chaos. And I just feel, Kim, that if we take time off, my spark is gonna like reignite, and I will be so like, you know, ready to begin again. I think I just need to have a month of rest. It's a lot of work, you guys. It's so much work to do this and to spend time every week and to make sure I'm reading and make sure that I have notes and things to talk about. And I wouldn't do it if I didn't love it, but I just feel like with everything else going on that I need a break. And like I said, the only way that I feel like we can continue is if we pick our book and we assign the reading for January, and then we start in February. But because I don't really know what books that I want to do, please, if you have any recommendations or any categories that you want me to look into, post them in the comments, email me, DM me, put it in the Facebook group, whatever you want. I want to read books on subjects that you guys are interested in, and I have been trying to get like a good array and assortment of things. At this point, I have some ideas, but nothing makes me feel like, yes, that's what I want us to do. This book sounds interesting. I'm getting it for sure. Yeah, The Happiness Project by Gretchen Rubin is very interesting. It is a self-help book, but the way that she breaks it down month per month and focuses on one different area of her life is very, it's very different than any quote-unquote like self-help book that I've ever read. So for August, her focuses were reading memoirs of catastrophe, which is totally not how I would approach things at all. Let me just say that, but we'll get to that. Keeping a gratitude journal, imitate a spiritual master. So she first starts off the chapter talking about reading books of catastrophe when she's on vacation and how it was very humbling for her when she was in such like a privileged and like wonderful time on vacation, beautiful weather, in like the happiest settings ever. She found joy and information on reading people with near-death experiences or with life-threatening illnesses or who have gone through traumatic situations. While she's in this state of like pure happiness vacation time, she's very like contemplative and humbled on what it means to be living her day to the fullest. And I liked that. It just wasn't the way that I would have approached it, if that makes sense. Okay, George is out of the bathroom. I have to pee now. I'll be right back. What? Okay, love you. Oh, all right. Thanks, guys. I can't hold it for that long. Okay. So, I would not approach reading memoirs of catastrophe to humble myself like that. Like, I have read them and I think that they're interesting, but I don't think my proactive mind is like, I'm reading this so that I can be more happy. It'd be like, I'm interested in knowing what this is about and we'll see what comes of it kind of thing. But I get why she did what she did. So then she talks about doing her will and testament with her husband and how that brought them together. And then, hold on one second. I have to put user in a timeout. Yep. Okay. Hold on. Isaac Clarke needs a report. My moderators, I think, are very busy because they're. I can't choose that. Oh my gosh. Hold on. What is happening? Okay. Cool. So sorry about that. We had a very opinionated person in here that wasn't really using their voice to the best of their ability to get what they wanted to say across. So I just got rid of them. So she went and got a will and testament with her husband and it brought them closer together. Cool. Anyways, don't relate to that. I think at some point I will, but it was nice to see and hear that. What about the Celestine prophecy? Just throwing out a suggestion for the next book. I would love suggestions. If you put them here now, I will forget them. So if you could message me on Instagram or email me, which it should be linked down below, or if you're a part of the Facebook group, you can message me there. Maybe I can just write them down. Hold on. Sorry guys, hold on, let me write this down. And I will definitely look into them. Like I have topics that I'd like us to go into, but I can't find books that I feel like are great. I would love to look into like a really great book about God and goddesses and deity and, you know, matron and patron, or even just learning about, you know, the different gods and goddesses that are all over, because I feel like that's something that I get questions about a lot, and the way that I work with energy that way I think is very different than a lot of people, and I think it would be very interesting. Oh, you're good, Heather, it's fine. It's not a big deal at all. They gone, don't even worry about it. But I think it's also just fascinating. Like, I love mythology and I love learning about, you know, gods and goddesses. And I think it would be really interesting to see everybody else's knowledge, because I feel like the people out there that know about different deities and things like that, the ones that they know really, really, really well. So while there might not be a lot of information on some, those people might have a ton of interest, or it might be something that, it might be something that someone's wanted to get into, but they didn't know a whole lot about. And I just haven't been able to find a book that like kind of covers that like I want it to. It's very like sectionalized. So if you guys know a really good book about that type of topic that kind of covers it all, or it gives like a good basis for things, that would be interesting to go through, I think. And also I'm trying to find a really good a book about color, but I'm creating a workshop based around color magic and intentional color use in your everyday life. And so I think that I'm kind of trying to save a book like that for when I have the workshop available, so we can simultaneously go over a color magic book while I have that course or workshop available for you guys to dive into if you want. But that's a topic that I would like to get into, is color magic and using intentional color. So that's something I'm looking like. I have a book right now, and I don't know if it's like book club worthy, but it's great information. Stuff like that. I'd like to journey in with the moon, but nothing's hitting me in the fields yet. I mean, I want to read Mists of Avalon because it's my mom's favorite book and I've had it forever and I really want to read it. But I feel like a lot of people have read that book already, and even though it's like a fictional book, you guys were so interested in reading Uprooted or reading a fictional book that I feel like maybe people would have interest in reading The Mists of Avalon. So I'm down to do that. It's a very big book, which is why I thought maybe it would be nice to like give everybody 2 months to get through that book. Things like that. So just let me know if you're watching the playback of this, or you're watching it live and you just don't want to comment yet, or throughout the week or 2 weeks or whatever, you find a book and you're like, oh my gosh, this is perfect for book club. Please let me know. I really would love the suggestions. I want to read what you guys want to read too. So anyways, she does talk about in this a lot of like her role model and her spiritual masters and stuff, and she didn't know if she had one, she didn't know what that meant, all of that stuff, and she realized that Saint Therese was someone that she had like 17 books on, and that she was super fascinated, that she looked up to, and that she really felt connected to, and she didn't know why. And so this was part of the reason why I was bringing up for me, like, what are the gods or goddesses or pop icons or family members or even archetypes or people from history that you connect with, that you work with, or that you want to work with, or that you always time and time again think like, oh my gosh, I love that person, or oh my gosh, I love this celebrity, or oh, that god or goddess like always comes up for me when I'm talking or thinking about things in my everyday life. And someone for me is Kristen Bell. And she honestly is someone that like I really admire. I love the way that she comes across. I feel like she's very relatable and down to earth and witty, and I just feel like, oh my gosh, I just feel kind of giddy when I see her. I think about her, as well as Emma Watson. Like I have my like pop icon, or not even pop icon, like my celebrity people that I look up to or that I connect with, and that I honestly could do spiritual work or devoting myself to their archetypes. And I know someone who really dove into this well is Kellyanne Maddox. So she's got a couple videos out that are really, really juicy on like the archetypal, or like she does a lot of pop icon work. But I've made lists before of like the people that I feel super connected with. Like one of my biggest icons is Michael Jackson. I absolutely love Freddie Mercury. I absolutely love or loved a lot of things like Jim Carrey and Robin Williams, and like sitting down and looking at what all of those male figures have like in together in their qualities and their archetypes, or like what are the qualities in them that I gravitate towards, or why do I like them so much, and kind of looking for in myself what I'm trying to fulfill or what I want to embrace in myself, or maybe the qualities that I feel like I have and that's why I relate to them on certain things. It's a really great exercise, or it's a really great area, I think, to focus on. And if you don't feel called to work with God or goddess or deity like that, or you could do both. But I think you can learn a lot from the people that you look up to or that you're drawn to, or maybe even, like I said, actors and actresses where time and time again, if they're in a movie, you're like, oh, I have to see that movie. This person's in it. Why? Why are you drawn to that person? And looking into that. And she goes into more about how she realized Saint Therese was someone that she looked up to and that she felt connected to. And so I think that that's a whole other video, a whole other ball game, but that was probably the most interesting section of that chapter to me, because it's something that there's a bug in here and I hit it. It's something that I've thought and done a lot of work on before, but she was just kind of like scratching and skimming the surface of it. But yes. So let's move on to chapter 9, if nobody else has anything to say. I know you guys are in here, you're chilling, you're doing your thing, you're doing your laundry, you're washing your dishes, you're working and listening to me secretly in the background. Like, I get it, you're good, you're good. Oh my god, this smoothie's so good. This smoothie is so freaking good. It looks nasty, but it is so yummy. And I have not been feeling 100% lately. I feel like my body's trying to fight off something for the past like 2 weeks. And I'm not sick. I'm not. But like I can just feel like I'm running at maybe like 75 to 80% normally than I would. But I'm not like below half sick kind of thing. That was a weird way to describe that. Chapter 9, or September, she goes into pursuing a passion. And she talks about books. And I was in on this chapter, following it up from her like very watered down spirituality kind of chapter. She like goes into books, and like I was in on this. Her points that she goes over for this chapter is making time, forget about results, master a new technology, write a book. And she talked a lot about books already in previous chapters, where she talks about embracing the love of children's literature and how she always denied that, or she felt embarrassed by it, and she just kind of like, this is what I love, this is what I like, this is what I want to read, this is what I'm going to do, I'm not going to feel embarrassed, I'm going to be Gretchen, which is one of her 12 commandments. And that was super important the first time I read this book, because I realized how I was very like stifling myself on the fact that I like to read YA fantasy fiction novels. Like that's my number one go-to, is I love really, really nerdy, like very, very sci-fi, very fantasy YA literature. And I always felt like I read it, but I never wanted to talk to people about it because people were gonna, I don't know, judge me on like, why are you reading these, like, I don't know. It just was something that the first time I read this a few years ago, I was like, you know what? I don't care if I love this. I'm going to read it. I'm going to embrace it and love it. And now it was kind of nice to be reminded of that again when reading it. But she goes into talking about how she goes to the library every day for like 6 years, basically. And it just made me want to go to the library so, so bad. It's actually been on my to-do list for a very long time. I grew up in one city where, well, growing up, my mom would take us to the library all the time. Like, I would come home with stacks of books. And I've talked about it, like, when I was introduced to, like, true, like, what witchcraft was, I was probably like 12 or so, maybe 13, maybe, I think I was younger than that. I really do. Because I grew up in a very spiritual, metaphysical household, very like Mother Nature, organic, essential oils, and I've talked about that before. But when it comes to like spells and things like that, I was in the library one day and I was like going through the sections and I found like all these books on Wicca or witchcraft or like witches, like the history of witches, and I just like basically took a whole stack of books home and I have like a journal of me like writing different sigils and symbols and like kind of doing work and studying on like all that this book has to say. And I'm having a really weird flashback memory to reading and being like, I want to become like a witch, like I want to do this, like this is really cool, right? But I read this one book where it talked about the only way you can be initiated into like being a witch is you have to do this bath and you have to get all of these things and it has to be under like the new moon or the full moon, and like there was all these like it has to be's, like this is the way that you have to do it. And I was like, well, you know, I'm 12, I can't do all these things, like I can't get like, you know, I can't get all these things, I can't do this, like this seems like it's like forever, like if I do this I'm like stuck in this, like what if I don't like it or stuff. It just was very discouraging for me, this one section of this book. And there was an illustration too, like I can see it in my mind, and I remember reading it and being like, well, this is good to learn about and I know a whole lot about it and I'm really interested in it, but I'm not going to do it because it just seems very like if I have to do it this way and I can't. And so, you know, but I remember like my mom's like, are you really gonna check out all of those books? I'm like, I have to know everything. But the library was something that I absolutely loved going to. I loved the smell, I loved being there. I was such a book nerd, like I am still such a book nerd, and I loved just being in the library. And we live in a different city, and even though the library I grew up in wasn't that great, it wasn't bad either, but the library for the city that we live in is like right there, like it's right there. And I've wanted for a really long time now to go and get a library card for this city that we live in and just to go to the library and explore it and see what that one's like and pick up my laptop on my days off and go edit there or do things there instead of being in my house. So even just her talking about trying to tackle a big task and writing a book in 30 days and going to the library to do it, even though I didn't feel compelled to kind of start a big task and do all of that and connect on her, what I did connect with was the fact that she said she was in the library and going to the library, and I thought, I love libraries. I want to go to the libraries. Sam, you would like School for Psychics by C.K. Archer. It's a series. Is that a YA fiction series? Because if it is, I would like it. I'm gonna write it down. Hold on. School for. Now, it's not the only thing I read. It's YA fiction. Obviously, like I do really like to read other things, and we've talked about that, but book 2 is called The Astral Traveler's Daughter. Ooh, cool. Alright, I wrote that down too. It comes out in April next year. Ooh, sounds good. I will definitely look into it, Heather. I have like, I just want to read all of the books, you guys, but I want to go to the library. So she talks about, if you love Harry Potter, you'll like it. That's super promising, just so you know. If you started off with, if you like Harry Potter, I'm like, yes, I do. What are you going to tell me? So I guess the last thing that I want to talk about today is a point that she makes at the end of this chapter, and it's a conversation she's having with somebody at dinner, but she brings up, I think the guy says this, if you wonder if you're happy, then you automatically are not happy. If you have to ask yourself, am I happy? If you have to stop and think like, am I happy? Then you automatically aren't happy. And that's what this guy quotes some other person. I can't remember. I kind of went through that part very quickly, but I wrote this down because I think it's a good thing to bring up to end the live stream. her focusing on becoming happier or things that make her happy or kind of improving her life 1 month at a time for a whole year. There's points in here where she says, like, is this even working? Like, I'm trying so hard to be happier, and I feel like I'm more unhappy because I'm trying so hard. And I feel like there's truth, and you know, there's it that is also invalid in my opinion on both ends. It like, come on, just focus. Just focus on me. Focus on me. Come on, you can do it. So for me personally, if I'm thinking about whether I'm happy, in that second, maybe I wasn't happy, but the kind of personality that I have is that whenever I think, am I happy? I automatically say yes. But I feel like that's the kind of person that I am. And I was kind of raised to be that kind of person. So as soon as I think, am I happy? My initial response is to immediately think of all the things that make me happy. To go, yeah, I'm happy. I'm so grateful for this, and I have this, and I love this, and this is what I do, and this is what I do, and my mind and I gravitate naturally to want to think about the things that make me happy and how I am happy. Whereas I feel like other people might have the opposite response, where if they have to think, am I happy? Their initial response might be to think about all the reasons why they might not be happy, and some might think that that's a choice, but I don't know. I don't know if that is. I think there are more optimistic and pessimistic people in this world. And depending on how you approach different situations, I think that honestly, though, there is a lot of factors to this. This is a very big, like, loaded question, because you could be going through a lot of really traumatic things. You could have a lot of issues mentally that you're dealing with. You could have a lot of physical health. You could be going through a lot of struggles financially or whatever that is, but I think it's more so just breaking it down to the basics and just thinking, like, do you think that by asking yourself, am I happy, does that automatically mean that you aren't happy if you have to question it or if you're asking yourself it? Or do you think in response, by asking yourself if you're happy, you automatically embrace and are remembering all of the things that make you happy and how happy you actually are and what you're grateful for? I just thought it was an interesting way to kind of end off our reading section for the week. Yeah, and I just want to know, so if you don't want to comment here, or you're watching the playback of this and you have thoughts and you want to comment down below, I'd love to hear what you think about this, because it is a very big question. It's a loaded question. There's a lot of different factors that come into this, but at its basics, you know, her trying to focus on the things every single day that she can make herself happier, that bring her happiness, so that she thinks she can improve in her life. Do you think that works? Do you think that it is working? I think for me, it's more so, if I have the choice to choose whether to focus on the good or the bad, I naturally gravitate towards the good. But that doesn't mean that I have a lot of good going on. It might mean that in the hardest of times, you know, I still am more inclined to think about the things that make me happier, the good things that I have. And I think that a lot of people are very different than that, and that's okay. We all come from different situations. We're all going through totally different things. And I know how privileged I am for some of the things that I have in my life, or just in general. But I also do recognize the things that I am more of a minority of. Overall, I'm very privileged, and I do recognize that, and I try to recognize that in all situations and areas of my life. But at the same time, there are things that I think we all kind of go through that can factor into this. Autumn Bree says, even if you're generally happy, I think there's still a lot of value in continuing to elevate your life and your joy. And I think that's the biggest thing to take away from this book. It's not whether or not you need to question and ask yourself, am I happy? Am I happy? How can I be happier? It's more so about breaking the different aspects of your life that you that you feel are important to her. Like one is books, one is her marriage, one is children, one is her health. And instead of just trying to be happier, it's more so trying to be more intentional or trying to be more focused on what works best for her. And sometimes the things that she is doing is not in a direct correlation with trying to make herself happier, but having a happier environment. So instead of her nagging to get what she wants done in the house, she kind of has to take a step back and think, all right, well, it doesn't make me happy to nag, but it also doesn't make me happy when the things that I'm nagging about still aren't getting done. But so I'm going to try and compromise and say that I'm going to nag less, and I'm going to find different ways to incorporate what I need to get done and what I'm hoping people can help me on in an environment. Do you think that making that choice is really making her happier? I don't know if it is, but I think it's making a more intentional choice on how to interact positively on an experience, and like working together with her family in that environment to make sure that everyone is, you know, living a cohesive life. I think the Happiness Project is initially a good response to want to make the title of this book, but in my mind reading it, it's more like intentional living, you know, journeying through my intentions. But that's just kind of how I'm looking at it. Kim says, I am of the mind that the feeling of happiness is transient. Wow, why can't I say that word now? It's okay. Stopping to take stock of your life is more along the lines of, are you where you want to be? Are you content and grateful? Yeah, what are your intentions? Like, what do you want to have? What do you want to do? Living more intentionally. I like that. Yeah, so I think it's less about let's make ourselves happier. Let's have more intention in what we do, and how can we be the best versions of ourselves, and maybe that in turn will make us happier. Maybe in some areas it might be harder for us because we have to go against our natural ability to kind of try and argue with somebody or whatever that means. But if it means keeping the peace and having everybody be happy around us, maybe that's more intentional that we want to have there. So it's a big question, but do you think that if you think about happiness that you're automatically unhappy or happy? And just really your overall thoughts at this point. We only have 3 more chapters to go. We're starting, you know, the next section on October, and at this point I think I've got a good grasp of what's going on, and that, you know, she's just trying to break down the big areas in her life to where she can really think about what she does with those areas and how she acts and she lives, and what she wants to really accomplish in those areas. So anyways, that's it for today's live stream. Again, let me just kind of preface, if you guys want any of the worksheets, if you want these worksheets from last week, or if you want the previous worksheets that we've done, you can head over to my website. It's samanthamenzo.com, and there is a tab that says Witchy Book Club, and you can, it's kind of like in a blog setting, so if you see an image, just click on it, and then there's more images that will pop up where you can print them, or you can just kind of copy them into a notebook that you want to do yourself. Feel free to join the Facebook group. It's facebook.com/groups/Witchy Book Club. That'll always be linked down below. If you have any suggestions on future books, please let me know. I think at this point, I will try and check in with the Facebook group, but I think I'm going to be saying that we're going to take a month off and we're going to resume back in February. I'll try to announce the book that we choose sometime in mid-January, unless somebody says, no, let's totally like read a book and we just won't live stream. There's definitely not going to be any live streams after the last one for this, which is New Year's Eve morning. So we're taking next week off, and then we'll be back for the last day of the year, 31st, and we'll finish the book, and we'll kind of do some like going into the new year talk and decide for sure then. But I'm gonna say we're probably gonna skip Witchy Book Club for January. I need to give myself a break, especially because I'm doing 31 Days of Tarot. So thank you all so much for being here. If you're watching the playback of this, or you were able to join me live, I really enjoy this every single week. If you feel the want or need to contribute to the Witchy Book Club, to keep this going and all of that. You can either PayPal, which is linked down below, or if you're still in the super chat and you want to contribute, there is a super chat option. It's always optional. It's an option. You don't have to do it, but if you want to, it is there, and it's much appreciated. And other than that, I really, really, really love to hear your guys' feedback in the Facebook group, so I hope to see you there, and if you do the homework and all of that. I love you all very, very much. I hope that if you are celebrating any of the holidays this next week and a half, that you have wonderful holidays. I will see you guys on the 31st, the last day of the year, for our last live stream for this book, and I'm super excited about it. I will be going live for other things in between there, but it's fine. Witchy Book Club. The next one is the 31st. I love you all so, so much, and I hope that you have a beautiful, wonderful, magical day, and I'll see you next time. Bye! I can't turn this off. I can't turn this off. Okay.